So I'm now going to show you the last step of your little wrist warmer, and that's to make the cuff edging. I've already made the top edging here, and you can see how nice that last round of DC looks just to finish off your piece. So now I'm going to show you how to do the same on this bottom cuff edging. At the moment it looks quite bumpy, and that's the edging that we made when we were working back and forth. So now we're going to work in the round to make this edge. I like to begin this round on the same seam above the thumb hole gap, and it's really just so that when we're putting our cuff on, the join of the yarn is going to be hidden on the side. We don't really want to join our yarn in the middle where it's quite visible, so I'm going to put it onto the side here. So let's get our yarn, and to join with the slip stitch, hold your yarn with a little bit of a tail underneath your work, and then with your hook come through from the front to the back, and then catch your yarn in your hook and bring it back up. And now you want to join that with a slip stitch, so I'm just going to do yarn on, bring it through that loop, and then we can just pull the little tail to make it firm. So looking at our pattern for the cuff edging, round one is the same as we did for the top edging. So it tells us to chain one and then straight away into that same position, just pull that yarn down, work a DC. So I'm going straight away into that same hole. And then I've joined with a DC. So all into that same hole I've done my slip stitch, my chain one and a DC. And now I can carry on with the pattern. So I'm working evenly a round of DCs all the way around this seam. So just work into each stitch one DC. And as I do it, you can see I'm working my way around the piece anti-clockwise, and it's always with the front facing up. So each stitch is also covering over the edge that we made previously. So already you can see how nice and neat that edging is looking. So we just keep working all the way around. And then round two of the cuff edging is slightly different than round two that I used at the top, because instead of using DCs all the way around, I'm using just simply slip stitch. So I'll show you how to do that when I get there. Working all the way around into each stitch. It's quite easy to see where to put the hook, because you can see there's a hole made from the stitch when we were working back and forth. So I'm nearly all the way around. When it gets to the end of the round, the pattern is telling me to work a slip stitch into the first DC I made. So I'm just going to jump over that bump here. There's my DC. Actually, that's a bit too big a jump. I'll go one more DC there. So that's the first DC I made, and I'm going to work just a simple slip stitch. So straight into that DC and a slip stitch, bring the yarn through and straight away take the hook through that loop. So you're not putting the yarn on. Now I'm going to work another round just using slip stitch. So I don't need to make a chain at this point to make a higher stitch, because I want to keep it all at a low level so it just keeps going round. So I'm going into my next stitch with a slip stitch, next stitch with a slip stitch. So I'm not adding any height to this round at all. I'm just adding this final edging stitch, and in a way it looks a bit like it's going along the side of your work. So we have then almost the effect of a double DC from the previous round along the top, and then this side stitch, the slip stitch going all the way along. So I will carry on doing that until I've finished the full round, and then I'll fasten off and darn in any ends, and then your little wrist warmer will be finished.